Alrighty, what is up? Welcome back to the Facebuster podcast. We've got some big things to talk about right off the bat. The Bloodline has split. What we have all been waiting for has finally happened this past Friday on Friday Night SmackDown. The Usos have superkicked their way out of the Bloodline. They have seceded from their family, and it appears that Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, while not on his own now, is short two hands, and the Usos are opting to venture out on their own, at least for the time being. I anticipate Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens to get involved somehow. Maybe they team up to take on the Bloodline. But when you take a look at the Bloodline, it's just it's Heyman, it's Solo, and it's Reigns. So there's two guys now in that faction who are able to compete. Certainly, Paul Heyman isn't going to be stepping in the ring anytime soon. So that begs the question, how long is Roman Reigns going to allow himself to be shorthanded like this? I anticipate that they'll play this out a little bit. Roman Reigns being vulnerable, being susceptible to outside attacks, not only from his cousins, the Usos, but from anyone else who has beef with him, and perhaps Solo as well, or Heyman. At some point, I'm expecting Roman Reigns to do a little bit of recruiting. And I think that may come from within the WWE, and perhaps maybe a little bit outside of the WWE, and I'll get into what I am going over in my head as far as the forming of the Bloodline 2.0. Yes, the Bloodline will remain, but just in a different form. I think, as I said, they'll play out the vulnerable Roman Reigns for a little while. Maybe he's kind of sulking about. Maybe he starts to show his sensitive side, or maybe this pisses him off and he evolves to a new level of anger and bitterness and hatred and egotism and arrogance. Perhaps this shock to his system will elevate him. He will have to level up once again and become a meaner Roman Reigns. Certainly, he's not going to sit around and wait for too long. I expect him to surround himself with some new bodies, with some new enforcers. You may be thinking to yourself, who could he possibly... Is there even any more family, any bloodline relatives left in the WWE? Certainly, maybe in development. But no, unlike Solo, who really fed in... It timed out perfectly for Solo Sikoa. He happened to be in NXT in developmental at the right time and matured and evolved and grew at the right time so that he could enter this storyline at precisely the right time. He was ready when he was needed, and that worked out perfectly. Zilla Fatu is a member of the family who is a little young. He's in Booker T's Reality of Wrestling currently, probably far from ready to go. It would be, I assume, a mistake to rush him along and get him into this Bloodline 2.0 idea. Let's look outside of WWE. The most prominent and well-known member of the family that could possibly be ready. Well, let's be real. He is ready, but he is under contract elsewhere, is Jacob Fatu. Jacob is currently in MLW, and from what I've read, he is signed through 2025. Now, I'm not certain about the contract terms. Perhaps, I don't know if that's a situation where he could ask for his release and request that he wants to go and be with his family in this prominent storyline. I don't know if the WWE could buy out the rest of his contract. I don't know how any of that shit works. I'm certainly nowhere near an expert as far as wrestling contracts go. How that works, how wrestlers can get out of a contract or be released early from a contract or potentially be bought out. I'm not sure if that's even a possibility. However, the best possibility for a family member of the Bloodline to join the Bloodline currently would be Jacob Fatu if they were able to somehow get him out of his MLW contract. Again, I don't know how any of that shit works. But Jacob is a tenured veteran. He's been around for a while. The guy is a beast in the ring. He's a big man that can move and execute like a high flyer. He's almost in Bronson Reed territory, and we're about to talk about Bronson Reed a little bit. But Jacob Fatu would be a fun element to add into this storyline, to add to a new Bloodline. I'd love to see if they could figure something out. If not, it might be a little too late come 2025 when his contract does expire or is reported to expire. But if they could extract Jacob Fatu under the right circumstances and bring him over to WWE, he's ready and able to go right now. He does not need to go to NXT. He does not need to develop. He'd be ready immediately. So that would be the best case scenario. But let's look in-house. Not speaking of relatives, but how important is that right now? In fact, that is something they could use in the storyline. The fact that Roman Reigns may not necessarily trust his family 100% after what unfolded on SmackDown, having his cousins, the Usos, turn on him and finally leave the Bloodline. So they could use that as an excuse for him to recruit guys who aren't necessarily related to him, but may share a similar background. And so let's get into some possible non-related candidates to join the Bloodline. My mind immediately goes to Bronson Reed, who I just mentioned a couple moments ago. He is not related in any way to any member of the Bloodline, but he is Samoan, so he fits the mold. Also, it would be a fantastic way to elevate Bronson Reed exponentially quicker than the rate they are developing him and elevating him right now. Yes, WWE likes Bronson Reed. Clearly, they're pushing him mildly right now. They're putting him in prominent storyline situations on television. He's getting consistent television time, and he's looked like a monster. They have made him look like a fucking beast. Right now, he's kind of in this weird thing with Ricochet and Shinsuke that doesn't necessarily do anything for me. I'm glad they're doing something with him. But look, they like the guy. They want him to succeed and grow and become a bigger star. Putting him in the Bloodline would be strapping a absolute fucking rocket on his back. He deserves it. He's ready for that sort of spotlight, and I could see him fitting in really well as sort of a hired gun and an additional enforcer to Roman Reigns in the Bloodline. I could see Roman Reigns wanting to go all out for the next iteration of the Bloodline. Find bigger guys, more dangerous guys, scarier guys. You lost the Usos, so, fortify your castle walls even more so this time around. Find guys like Bronson Reed. Jacob Fatu is a giant man. Surround yourself with beastly monster dudes, just to sort of throw it in the face of the Usos. Like, yeah, okay, you two left, fine. Look who I'm going to surround myself with now. Look who's honorary members of the Bloodline now. Do you think losing you really hurts? Look at who I have now. Bronson Reed, this guy is both of you put together. So, fuck off. We're done. I don't need you anymore, because I got guys like this. Not only does this instantly help the Bloodline become bigger and stronger after the exodus of the Usos, but it serves a second purpose. Eventually, Bronson Reed, I could see being a gigantically popular babyface. He's got the personality, he's got the babyface, literally. Like, the dude, when he smiles, is like a big kid, he has the look of a guy that you want to be, you want to cheer for him. You want him to succeed. You want to get behind him. He just has that natural babyface look to him. He's doing a really good job frowning and sneering and looking mean right now. But if you watched him in NXT, you know the guy can be a natural babyface. So elevating him into the bloodline as a super heel will eventually play into him becoming a super over babyface, because this could be the storyline that eventually drives him, maybe a year, maybe 2 years down the line, pulling an Uso and turning his back on Roman Reigns. That'll put him over big time as a babyface. So this helps right now, and it helps set up an elevation of a bigger superstar in the future by putting Bronson Reed in a position where he can play that monster heel and giving him a reason in the future to turn and become a babyface. This would be fruitful for present storyline and fruitful for what I think will eventually be a future storyline in Bronson Reed becoming a super over babyface. Now let's look a little deeper in the well. Zion Quinn. Who, right? So Zion Quinn came up in NXT. He was one of the new players prominently featured when NXT converted from Black and Gold to NXT 2.0. He kind of fizzled out a bit. I've talked about him a little bit on a previous episode. They were pushing him as like this sophisticated gentleman at first, and then he devolved into like a weird, like he did this really god awful spot with Robert Stone where he was playing himself off as serious, and then for some reason Robert Stone like convinced him to dance and sing Shawn Michaels entrance music. I've tried to erase this memory from my head as best as possible. Like I've tried to delete this from my memory because it was so fucking cringe and so god awful. Maybe don't do yourself a favor and look this up. But if you want to know what I'm talking about, I'm not sure I'm explaining the context correctly, but it was just this super fucking cringy, awful spot a couple years back that Zion did in the ring with Robert Stone. Watch it if you want. Don't blame me when you have to like Men in Black flashbang your face and erase that memory from your head, because it is truly that awful. But this is the type of stuff that they were trying to put on him in NXT. I don't know what they were trying to make of this guy. But the dude is he's in super fucking good shape. He's got the look. He's when he's had to talk on the mic, he hasn't screwed it up. He hasn't been too bad, so he's got something there. They obviously see something in him and have seen something in him enough to give him the status of a drafted superstar, albeit a free agent drafted superstar, but he was a part of the draft. And yes, he is a free agent. They haven't done anything with him yet. I think he was in the Battle Royal to determine the number one contender to Gunther's IC title heading into Night of Champions. But it was a nothing burger. He was just another body in the ring. They didn't really mention him or anything. But another guy, not related in any way to any of the members of the Bloodline, but he is Samoan, or at least partially Samoan, so he fits the mold once again. And he's another guy who's a big dude. He's intimidating, and if portrayed correctly, he can come off as another enforcer type of a dude. The guy's super tall, super ripped. I mean, if you hadn't seen what I saw in NXT with that shitty spot with Robert Stone, you would automatically think this guy is a badass heel with plenty of menacing and daunting elements about him. He looks the role of a bad dude. So if they can recruit Zion Quinn, if Roman Reigns can recruit Zion Quinn, and they don't, put too much on him, he's just maybe a guy that stands around with his arms folded and he stands in front of Roman Reigns' door and he keeps people from talking to him. He kind of almost like a bodyguard type. That would work perfectly. He fits the mold. He's got the Samoan heritage, and why not? What else is he doing? See what you've got in the guy, and if he doesn't work, Roman Reigns could turn on him, make him cannon fodder for the bloodline, and off he goes into the sunset, never to be heard from again, except to maybe job to somebody, or they repackage him and do something else with him, send him back down to NXT, have him do stuff there, whatever. There's nothing to lose in this situation. He's a guy with the look. He's got the size. He's got something that he can contribute to this. Mostly the common background, the common heritage with the bloodline, with the Samoan background. So bring these guys together. See what you've got. If anything, like I said, Roman can toss him out if it doesn't work. I find it hard to believe that Roman Reigns is going to allow himself to be vulnerable for too long. The next step we have solidified so far is apparently we're going to get the Bloodline Civil War at Money in the Bank. It's going to be Roman Reigns and Solo versus the Usos. That's going to be fun. I'm very anxious to see what comes of that. Here's the thing. They could use this as a way to further the reason that Roman needs to go recruit guys to stand around him and protect him, to replace the Usos and give them power in numbers once again. Use the match at Money in the Bank. Have the Usos beat the bloodline, the remaining bloodline of Roman and Solo. And this, in turn, sort of sends Roman Reigns on a downward spiral. So for the next couple weeks leading up to Money in the Bank, have Roman sort of like, you know what, who needs him? We lost the Usos. It's me and you, Solo, and you, Paul. We're enough. We got what it takes. We'll be fine. We are still the ones, we still have all the belts that matter. Have them go into that match with sort of a renewed confidence that they could do it on their own. But in fact, once they lose to the Usos, that sends Roman Reigns into a bit of a tilt-a-whirl, and he finds himself feeling unconfident, maybe angry with himself that it's not enough. That's not to say that he's ever going to verbalize that. He's just going to go out and recruit guys like Bronson Reed, like Zion Quinn, perhaps a Jacob Fatu, if that could work out somehow, and bring them into the fold to give him the power in numbers once again. So use this match as a way to sort of shatter Roman a little bit more. Use this as a way to further emphasize Roman's vulnerability without the Usos and give him a reason to add to the bloodline, to add to the storyline, to add a new wrinkle and a new fold. What they could also do, considering Money in the Bank is sort of, let's be real, Money in the Bank is sort of one of the major premium live events now. In fact, I've been debating in my head about this for some time now. Money in the Bank should supplant Survivor Series. Survivor Series is nothing now. They don't do the traditional Survivor Series matches. They don't really matter anymore when they do. It's usually just a one, maybe two Survivor Series style matches. It's just WWE has so many 4-man, 6-man, multi-man tag matches now that Survivor Series is nothing special anymore. They do shit like that throughout the year all of the time. So, and the Raw versus SmackDown thing is dead in the water. There's no point in doing that anymore. Nobody gives a shit about that. It's all the same brand. We all know this now. We've grown past the stage of it from back in the day where there was seemingly a fan base for Raw and a fan base for SmackDown and a reason for the two to compete against each other. That's gone. Money in the Bank should be considered the new, in the major 4 premium live events on the year. It should supplant, it should supersede Survivor Series. It should be Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, Money in the Bank, and WrestleMania. That's it. Survivor Series is nothing anymore. Who gives a shit about Survivor Series? So since this is, at least in my mind, one of the major premium live events of the year, use this as the date that you introduce this new crew. Perhaps the Usos go into this uber confident that they can take out Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa on their own in their new vulnerable state. Since the Usos left, they're reeling right now. So they go in thinking they have a chance, and then they start to get over on Roman and on Solo, and out comes these new Bloodline recruits. Here comes the Bloodline 2.0. Here comes the Bloodline Wolfpack, right? It's Money in the Bank. Make big shit happen. Make major changes. Make major debuts or have some surprises. This could be a huge surprise to unveil at an event like Money in the Bank. And it's in London. It's going to be a huge hyped event. Big stuff's going to happen. And this could be one of them. So if this isn't just a match where the Usos take out Roman Reigns and Solo, sending Roman and Solo on a downward spiral to the point where they need to recruit guys in the near future, have this be something that Roman is working on in the background that we don't necessarily know about, and it is unveiled at Money in the Bank as an enhancement to Roman and Solo's chances of defeating the Usos. They need to defeat the Usos. The Usos have humiliated the Tribal Chief. So it is imperative that Roman Reigns and Solo are able to pull it out. But who's going to be there to help them? Unless they do some cheesy heel shit and, get one over on the Usos while the ref is distracted, or do the, at this point, severely overused ref takes a bump and bring a chair in and I don't know, take out the Usos that way. It's a bit overused lately. We've seen that too much lately. So this would be the perfect opportunity for Roman Reigns in a weak point in this matchup against the Usos. It looks like the Usos are going to take the win. Have these guys come out, whoever they may be, and help out. Maybe that leads to a disqualification. Who gives a shit? It establishes or reestablishes dominance for the Bloodline 2.0 and shows the Usos, essentially, fuck you. We don't need you. Look who we've got. Look how strong we look. Look how much bigger these dudes are than you. Bronson Reed could eat the two of you for breakfast and still have an appetizer. But again, whatever they decide to do, I anticipate there being additions to Roman and Solo and Paul. We don't know who it's going to be. We don't know even the possibilities. Maybe this is something that doesn't happen for a while. Maybe they save it for SummerSlam. Maybe they save it for somewhere further down the road. But I think this would be the perfect time at Money in the Bank to at least get this ball rolling. Roman Reigns is not going to remain vulnerable like this. He's going to surround himself with more people. That's when he's been the most successful. That's when he has dominated. When he has had more than just Solo and Paul to protect him. He needs at least 2, maybe 3 other guys. So how is this for the Bloodline 2.0? Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman, Solo Sikoa, and in a fantasy world, Jacob Fatu, Bronson Reed, and Zion Quinn. Not all of them are related, but they all fit the mold. They have the Samoan background. I think it would be perfect. If you have any suggestions, any ideas, I'd love to hear about it. Leave it in the comment section. Let's talk about it. But this is my ultimate fantasy booking draft for the Bloodline version 2.0. Who would be your Bloodline 2.0 is a better question. Let's talk about that. Elsewhere in the world of WWE, we got some clarification finally this past week on the women's championship situations. Of course, we already heard before the unveiling of the WWE Women's Championship for Asuka. And this week we found out that Rhea Ripley would be deemed now the World Women's Champion, or the Women's World Champion. I forget how it goes. But I initially thought that it would be cool for them to deem her the Universal Women's Champion or Women's Universal Champion, whatever. I mean, how different is it? World Women's Champion, which that's fine. At least we have clarification now. So it does turn out, it does look like that Charlotte Flair, in error, was pointing at the Raw Women's Championship belt in that weird segment with Asuka where she was challenging her, where she was pointing at the discarded Raw Women's Championship belt instead of the new Women's Championship belt that was around Asuka's waist. Just a weird moment that muddied the waters a little bit as far as what was going to happen in the future regarding the individual championship belts. It looks like that was just a mistake. Charlotte's been away for a while. Maybe she didn't even recognize that Asuka was wearing a new belt, and she just saw the familiar Raw Women's Championship belt discarded on the table. It was like, yeah, I want that. I don't know what you're wearing, but I want the thing that I've seen before. So it's good to know what's happening. I think there's only going to be the two women's championship belts. It's a little odd because it's a women's championship and the world women's championship. It's not too different. They sound very similar. It's a word off. I think they would contrast more if it was women's championship and universal women's championship. Maybe that's just me. I thought it sounded better, but whatever. At least we have clarification. There's not going to be some weird, like, Raw, SmackDown, undisputed women's championship. At least as far as I know. I hope not. That would just make things even more complicated. Or maybe they'll, who knows, maybe they'll unify them and turn it into like a women's intercontinental championship. I don't know if that makes sense or if there's even enough women on the roster to merit that. I wouldn't be against it. Give more women an opportunity to elevate themselves as a champion. But there's already the women's tag team titles. Of course, they're going to do the unification process with the main roster tag team titles and the NXT women's tag team titles. You never know. Things have been really murky in that area lately as far as women's championships go. So I wouldn't be surprised for them to pull a fast one and say, you know what, the Raw Women's Championship and the SmackDown Women's Championship, it's the European Intercontinental Hardcore 24/7 Women's Championship, or something stupid. Wouldn't put it past them, but regardless, at least we know what to call Asuka and Rhea Ripley now. Speaking of weird shit, I don't know what the hell is going on with Grayson Waller. We've seen 3 Grayson Waller effects at this point. I think 3, maybe 4, but I think 3. And I finally noticed what is different. If you go back and watch the Grayson Waller effect on any episode of NXT that it was on, Grayson Waller was always half yelling. Now in his main on SmackDown, when he does the Grayson Waller effect, he's actually speaking with an inside voice. That's what's different. I was going crazy trying to figure out what is different about this guy. Why does he sound different? It's like they neutered him or something. He suddenly his balls dropped or something. I don't know. But he's just speaking in these interviews now. If you go back and watch him in NXT, he was always doing the Grayson Waller effect like this. He was always talking like this. He was always loud. He was always yelling all of the time. And now he's just talking like this, mate. And here tonight I have Charlotte Flair as a guest tonight. I'm so nervous that Charlotte is gonna be it's weird. I don't know if that's intentional. I don't know if he's nervous, but I like yelling Grayson better. He's the more obnoxious this guy is, the better his character comes off as. That's what he's supposed to be. He's loud, he's obnoxious, but so far on the main roster, he's just been sort of talking like this. It's not the same. It's weird. It's like they've cut off part of his personality. I don't know if that's by design, but I think he needs to go back to loud, obnoxious Grayson Waller, where he's constantly yelling all of the time and he's speaking like this. and he's super excited, and he's glorifying himself, and he's an egomaniac. Instead of this, where he's nervous to meet Charlotte, and I, yo, my Australian accent sounds a little bit like a old waitress in a diner. It's not good, but again, you get the point. It's that's not Grayson Waller. What have they done to him? I just, it was driving me crazy trying to figure out what was different. Clearly there was something was off, and that's it. They've turned the volume down on Grayson Waller. I don't know why, but he's supposed to be a jerk off, man. Like, why do this to him? Make him yell again like a crazy person, and maybe his show won't be so boring, because to this point, every time I've seen Grayson Waller on the main roster, it's been disappointing. It's not the Grayson Waller that we came to love to hate in NXT. So I hope they fix that, or at least I don't even know what to say. Something is up there. I hope they fix Grayson Waller, because it has not been good to this point. But something from NXT that has been very good, and I've been saying it from the moment they were drafted, Pretty Deadly continues to be fucking great on SmackDown. They are so fucking cheap. I miss their old entrance music. I think that fit them better. I know this is supposedly, an enhancement, their new entrance music. It's a little annoying to me. I guess that means it's working, but I thought the old sort of 80s style throwback entrance music fit them really well. It fit their character. This is, whatever they got now is just kind of, I can't complain too much, because them as characters, they are doing exactly what I was hoping they would, and that is continue to be obnoxious, flamboyant, and just cheesy to the point of, look, when their first appearance on SmackDown television, you could tell the main roster crowd was like, what? This, really? Like, this isn't going to last. These guys look stupid. They're not going to, this can't be anything. These guys are going to be jobbing in no time. All at the time, I was laughing on the inside, because I knew they would very quickly win over the heel heat of the crowd, and you can tell that it's working. They have gotten themselves over fantastically as obnoxious heels, and I fucking love it. I fucking love Pretty Deadly. I've seen big things for these guys. I'm not trying to brag, but ever since seeing them in NXT UK, I knew they would one day be like very capable main roster superstars as a tag team. This is going over even better than I thought it would. They've gained the good ire of the fans in attendance. And not just, what the fuck is this, but, oh shit, I hate these guys. I want to see them get their asses kicked. That's a good thing. And aligning with Austin Theory, not too sure about that friendship, that relationship. That doesn't really fit to me. Maybe more will come of it. Maybe it's a short-term thing. But either way, them by themselves, they are fucking great. I don't know what to tell you if you don't get it. If you don't get what these two guys are supposed to be, they're amazing heels, and I fucking love it. They have worked themselves into a championship opportunity. They're going to be facing Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn for the tag team championships. They deserve it. I'm super happy for those guys. They are awesome as a tag team. I wish we need more Pretty Deadlies. Seriously. If you were sitting there thinking, how could this guy be saying this Pretty Deadly is awful? What the hell is wrong with you? These guys are fucking great. They're perfect heel tag team. I love Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn as tag team champions, but I can't wait for when these guys eventually get the belts. And trust me, they will eventually be tag team champions, and they will be great tag team champions. You will love to hate it. Trust me. I can't wait. These guys are phenomenal. I can't say enough good things about Pretty Deadly. I hope people are seeing why I've put so much behind them, because not only are they talented in the ring, they are phenomenal on the mic. They are great at storytelling and psychology. It's not something that you're going to see in a team like that right away because you're too busy hating the way that they look and the way that they act. But everything they do in the ring, everything they do on the mic is spot on and fucking great. These guys are ahead of the game, and I can't wait to see them get better. I can't wait to see them as champions, and I, I can't wait to see how much heel heat they can get, because I don't think they've even hit the tip of the iceberg yet. These guys are going to be fucking great. Aside from all of that, though, I mean, a bulk of what was going on this week in WWE was mostly the Bloodline stuff. That really took over the headlines in WWE. We continue to get qualifiers for Money in the Bank on the men's side, on the women's side, and we'll continue to see that get filled out in this coming week. So let's move on to a little bit of NXT. Not a lot happening this past week. We saw Noam Dar, surprisingly to me, lose his Heritage Cup to Nathan Frazier. I figured it would eventually happen, but the way that it happened was a little mind-boggling to me. So Dar came out nursing a leg injury. He was on crutches. I'm not sure if it's legit or not, just based on how this played out. So he had Oro Mensah fight in his place for his Heritage Cup. And the minute that is announced that Oro Mensah is fighting for him because he was viciously attacked, allegedly, by Nathan Frazier in the parking lot or something like that, I figured this is just Noam's way of getting out of the fight and having somebody else do the dirty work. Surely the injury is fake, and at some point in the match, he's going to... the ref's going to get distracted by Lash Legend or Jakara Jackson, and Dar's going to use his crutches as a weapon and fuck up Frazier. Oro's going to retain the cup for him. But that's not what happened. Nathan Frazier beat Oro Mensah for Noam Dar's Heritage Cup. So part of me thinks either they have something different or bigger planned for Noam Dar and his Metaphor group, or he is legitimately injured, which would be super poor timing given that they just built a faction around this guy. But just a strange way for things to go down. I'm leaning towards maybe he is injured. Maybe he wasn't 100% at least. And perhaps they do have something bigger planned for him. They've been pushing this guy from the moment he set foot back into NXT. So maybe the Heritage Cup, he wasn't long for that. Maybe he's got North American Championship opportunities in his future. Maybe tag team stuff with Oro Mensah. Maybe he's really injured. I don't know. But that just stood out as being a little bit odd to me. Baron Corbin beat Ilya Dragunov to become number one contender for Carmelo Hayes' NXT Championship. I don't feel good about that. I know Braun stepped in and essentially helped Baron Corbin beat Dragunov, and it looks like Dragunov and Braun is going to be a thing. But Baron Corbin over Dragunov, after what Dragunov did with Dijak, talk about momentum killer. At least a bit of a downer. I mean, of all people, Baron Corbin. Well, Baron Corbin comes out and is like, now he's doing Kevin Owens cosplay. He's just got a tank top and shorts now. He's ditched the Applebee's server garb in favor of a tank top and shorts. And then at some point he removed the tank top, and it's not flattering. This is what they have for Baron, and this is what they do to Ilya. Pardon me, but fuck that. Nobody wants to see Baron Corbin get a championship opportunity in NXT? Like, what gives him the right? Dude, I get it with guys that come back. I get it with somebody like Finn Balor when he came back, with guys like Apollo Crews, even Mustafa Ali. I get that. Dolph Ziggler, I get that. Baron Corbin? Are you really? To Ilya? Over Ilya? After what he's done lately? God, man, come on. Don't like it. Severely disappointed. I don't understand where they're going. I hope they have something incredibly cool planned for Ilya with Braun. I'm not going to speculate that Braun's going to beat Seth for the heavyweight championship and then defend it against Ilya. That's not going to happen. I know eventually Ilya is going to get an opportunity at championship gold in NXT. Apparently not now. And I guess it, really over babyface versus really over babyface for the championship, that might be a little much at the moment. So, yeah, in that sense, Baron Corbin against Carmelo makes sense, but Baron Corbin? Man. Yeah. Come on. Baron Corbin. Fuck. Anyway, help me out. Somebody help me. Why are they doing this to us? Baron Corbin against Carmelo Hayes. I hope Carmelo smokes his ass. Seriously, Baron Corbin. I hope you get smoked. I hope Carmelo smashes you, squashes you. You deserve to be back to bum-ass Corbin. That's been your only good gimmick, save for when you were first in NXT. The lone wolf thing was kind of cool when you still had the skullet and the cool like dark biker singlet whatever thing that you wore with Baron Corbin. Come on, man. But, I mean, that was the bulk of NXT. Not much going on. Fucking Baron Corbin. Jesus Christ. But in other news, in other wrestling news, I did catch AEW Collision. I kind of half-watched it. I don't understand Luchasaurus beating Wardlow. I think if I were Wardlow, I would be counting down the days till I can sign with WWE and maybe go to NXT. They dropped the ball big time with this guy. I've heard like Kevin Castle has said it. I believe I've heard Mish from Wrestling Soup say it. This guy at one point in his AEW tenure was essentially he was essentially their version of Goldberg. He was super over with everybody. He had all the momentum. He could have been fucking huge. He could have been AEW's Goldberg. And what do? They just there's no other way to put it. They buried the shit out of this guy. And they gave him the TNT championship, cool, but like this guy could have been bigger than the TNT championship. This guy could have been competing for the world championship, the AEW world championship. And they're having him lose to Luchasaurus with the help of Christian. Is this really what you got for this guy? Anyway, not really what I wanted to talk about. CM Punk, him talking shit, that was cool. Very accurate. The soft comment, I agreed wholeheartedly with that from the things that I read on the internet these days and the Twitterverse. The match, not super spectacular. If anything, the match of the night was probably Murphy and Andrade. That was probably the best Collision had to offer, but it's kind of a sloppy match. You could tell Punk was a little bit winded and out of it. I expect he'll get better, but still, I tune into shows like this where Like, Punk's coming back, and I expect it to be a great match. I think I just overhype myself. I have high expectations when a guy like Punk is around, and especially when it's a return match of this magnitude, teaming with FTR. I expect it to be an instant classic. I should be stopping myself and tempering my expectations. He'll get better, but just visually, not a great match. Glad to see he's back. I hope this does something for AEW. I hope this elevates it and makes it more interesting in a way, but I still don't know how that's going to go with the drama backstage that's played out, and it continues to play out. We all continue to speculate if it's a shoot, if it's a work, if it's real, if it's fucking scripted. Who fucking knows at this point? I mean, they're splitting up the fucking roster for it. If this hadn't happened, if that hadn't happened, would they have needed to split the roster anyway? Based on how many shows they got now, would that have been something that would have worked to their benefit as far as storytelling and all that goes? I'm not sure, because I'm not convinced that the right person is booking shit in this company. The production of the show looks great. I like the old school nostalgia homage to Nitro. That's cool. But just, I don't know. I'm still not on the bandwagon. I'm still waiting for this AEW ship to correct itself, because the storytelling is not there for me. The continuity is not there for me. Again, I want to like this. I want AEW to be good. As I've mentioned in a previous episode, AEW being good is a win for all wrestling fans, because AEW and WWE would force each other to be better if they were actually competing with each other. If they were on at least almost similar levels, they would force each other to be better. So I want them to improve. I hope they're not oversaturating themselves with shows at this point. With the addition of a Saturday show, I don't know how good of an idea a Saturday show is, especially going into the summertime when nobody in their right fucking mind is going to be home every Saturday night waiting to watch AEW wrestling. It's just week in and week out. It's summertime. People got shit to do. They're out, they're partying, they're on vacation, they're having fun. Maybe in the fall it would make sense, but I don't know. We'll see how the second week does, ratings wise. Not that it matters to me. I don't give a shit. But God, I hope somehow Punk returning jumpstarts something in AEW, because I continue to be underwhelmed with what I see, which sucks. I want it to be good. Hopefully this gets something going. I don't even know. I don't know what to say about that, but it's good to see Punk back. I hope he gets his cardio in order, because he looked a little bit out of it. But again, he's been out for a while. He's an older guy. He'll get it. Just give it some time. But yes, I watched it. No, I was not enraptured by it by any means, but we'll see how it goes. But anyway, that's going to do it for me this week. You know, we continue to head into what I consider one of the major premium live events of the year in Money in the Bank. I expect big shit to pop off at Money in the Bank, going into Money in the Bank, or maybe shortly after Money in the Bank. Who knows, but it's go time. It's Money in the Bank. It's one of the big four, as far as I'm concerned. Be on the lookout for perhaps a new iteration of the Bloodline 2.0. I expect something to happen. Again, Roman Reigns isn't going to allow himself to be vulnerable like this, so something's going to happen. We'll just have to see what it is. That's my speculation. That's my prediction, though. I see a new group forming in the wake of the Usos turning their back and seceding from the Bloodline. But that is something we'll have to watch for in the future. As for right now, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you again for listening. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that stupid shit. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to talk to you in the comments about whatever you're thinking about, your ideas on the next steps for the Bloodline, potential new Bloodline members. Let's talk about it. Share it with your friends, your family, your grandma, your dog, whoever. It doesn't matter. Just get the word out there. Facebuster Wrestling Podcast. We're doing the damn thing every week. I will see you next time, and we will talk more wrestling. Until then, take care.